After 20 months deployed in Iraq, I thought I was coming home to my family. Instead, I walked into a nightmare that nearly destroyed everything I fought for. My name is Michael Thompson, and this is the story of how my wife Sarah systematically destroyed my relationship with my children while I was serving overseas, then tried to erase me from their lives completely. What started as a homecoming became a war for my children's souls, fought in courtrooms instead of battlefields. The homecoming I dreamed about for 20 months was nothing like the videos I'd watched online during lonely nights in Baghdad. No running children, no tearful hugs, no welcome home banners. Just two kids, Olivia, 8, and Nathan, 4, who barely looked up from their tablets when I walked through the door of our Denver home. "Daddy's home," I announced, dropping my duffel bag and expecting them to run to me like they used to before I left. Back then, they'd tackle me whenever I came home from work, competing to tell me about their day. Nothing. Olivia glanced up for half a second before returning to her game. Nathan didn't even acknowledge I'd spoken. They were playing some new tablet game I'd never seen, completely absorbed, as if a stranger had walked in. My in-laws, Carol and Bob, were the only ones who seemed genuinely happy to see me. They rushed over with hugs and tears, telling me how much they'd missed me, how proud they were of my service. Carol kept saying, "We've been counting the days until you came home." But something felt fundamentally wrong. The house was different. Packed boxes lined the hallway, and family photos that used to display my military service were nowhere to be seen. My deployment flag, the one Sarah had promised to keep hanging in the window, was gone. Even the pictures from our wedding, from family vacations, from happier times, had vanished. Sarah appeared from the kitchen, gave me a brief, cold hug that felt more like obligation than joy, and immediately launched into explanations. "The kids have been struggling without you, Michael. Mom and Dad moved in to help with everything since you left us to handle things alone." The word "left" hit like a physical blow. I deployed to serve our country, to provide for our family's future. We discussed it for months before I left. Sarah had been supportive, even proud, posting about being a military wife on social media. Now she made it sound like I'd abandoned them for selfish reasons. "I didn't leave you," I said carefully. "I was deployed. You knew that." "Did I?" she replied with a strange smile. "It's been so long, sometimes I forget." That first week, I kept telling myself it was a normal adjustment period. Other soldiers had warned me that reintegration could be difficult, that families changed during deployment, that patience was key. But this felt different, deliberate. My own children acted like I was a stranger they'd been forced to tolerate. I tried everything I could think of to reconnect with them. I cooked their favorite meal, homemade mac and cheese with bacon bits that they used to beg for every weekend. Before deployment, making this dish was our special Sunday tradition. They'd help me grate cheese and crumble bacon, laughing when they inevitably made a mess. Now they picked at it silently, while Sarah explained they developed different tastes while I was gone. "Kevin makes it better," Nathan said quietly, not looking at me. "Who's Kevin?" I asked. "Mommy's friend," Olivia replied, still not making eye contact. "He lives here now." Sarah quickly changed the subject, but the damage was done. Every attempt at connection was met with indifference or outright rejection. When I offered to read bedtime stories, they said Kevin read better stories. When I suggested we watch their favorite movie, they said Kevin had shown them new movies that were more fun. Everything I'd been to them before deployment had been replaced by this mysterious Kevin. The breaking point came during dinner, 3 days after my return. Nathan accidentally knocked over his juice cup, and the crash of glass hitting the floor sent me diving under the table. A reflexive response from months of incoming mortar attacks and IEED explosions. I stayed there for maybe 10 seconds, counting down from 5 like I'd learned in therapy, trying to center myself and remember I was safe at home. When I emerged, Sarah was staring at me with disgust while her mother filmed everything on her phone. I had no idea they'd been recording me constantly since my return. "The children can't see you like this," Sarah said, ushering Olivia and Nathan out of the room before I could explain or apologize for my reaction. "Sarah, it's just PTSD. It's normal." The doctor said, "Nothing about this is normal, Michael. Look at yourself." Over the next few weeks, Sarah became increasingly distant and hostile. The kids continued to ignore me or actively avoid spending time with me. When I asked to take them to the park, Sarah said they were too busy with activities Kevin had planned. When I offered to help with homework, they said Kevin was already helping them. I threw myself into readjustment therapy at the VA, thinking if I could just get my PTSD symptoms under control, everything would go back to normal. Dr. Rebecca Martinez, my therapist, assured me that what I was experiencing was typical for combat veterans, that my family needed time to adjust to. "Give it 6 months," she said. "These things take time. Your symptoms are mild compared to most soldiers I treat." I wish I'd known then that I didn't have 6 months. I didn't even have 6 days. Then Child Protective Services showed up at my door. "Mr. Thompson, we've received multiple reports of concerning behavior around your children," the caseworker, Ms. Rodriguez, explained. She was a tired-looking woman in her 50s who seemed genuinely concerned but overworked. She showed me her phone, and my blood ran cold. It was a compilation video of my PTSD episodes, the dinner incident, a moment when a car backfired and I hit the deck in our driveway, another time when loud construction noise from next door sent me into a flashback, all taken completely out of context, edited to make me look unpredictable and dangerous. The video was professionally edited with dramatic music and slow-motion replays that made normal PTSD responses look violent and threatening. Text overlays read things like unstable veteran and danger to children. These videos were provided by your wife, Ms. Rodriguez continued. She's expressed serious concerns for the children's safety. Sarah appeared behind me, her parents flanking her like bodyguards ready for confrontation. I think it's best if you stay somewhere else for a while, she said with cold determination, for Olivia and Nathan's sake. I looked at my wife of 10 years, the mother of my children, the woman who'd promised to love me through better or worse, and realized I was looking at a complete stranger. This wasn't the woman who'd cried when I left for deployment, who'd sent care packages and love letters, who'd promised to wait for me. Sarah, we can work through this together. I just need time to readjust. Please just go, Michael. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. The CPS worker looked uncomfortable with the situation, but explained she had to follow protocol. If you have somewhere else to stay voluntarily, it would be better for everyone while we investigate. I packed a single duffel bag and left my own home, knowing that anything I said or did would be twisted and used against me later. My bank account showed $47 in available balance. Somehow, all our savings had disappeared while I was deployed. I texted Sarah asking about our money. Her response came immediately. Medical bills for the kids. Your parents needed help. Family emergencies you weren't here for. None of it made sense. My parents lived in a different state and had never asked for money. The kids had been healthy when I left, and Sarah had never mentioned any medical issues in our video calls. I spent the next month sleeping in my truck in Walmart parking lots, showering at the 24-hour gym with my military discount, and eating free meals at the local VFW. Depression hit harder than any IED blast I'd survived. Some days I couldn't get out of the driver's seat. I'd stare at photos of Olivia and Nathan on my phone, trying to understand how everything had gone so catastrophically wrong. The other veterans at the VFW noticed my situation. Bobby Martinez, a Vietnam vet who'd been homeless himself, let me shower at his place sometimes and shared his wisdom about surviving on the streets. Systems rigged against us, son, he'd say. But you can't give up on those babies. That's when I ran into Marcus Chen at a Subway, where I was trying to make a $1 menu meal last all day. We'd served together in Iraq, survived an IED attack that killed 3 of our squad mates, and left us both with permanent hearing damage. Now he was wearing a 3-piece suit and carrying a leather briefcase. Jesus Christ, Mike, what the hell happened to you? He asked, sitting down across from me without being invited. When I told him everything, his expression hardened with each detail. Marcus had always been the smartest guy in our unit, the one who read legal manuals for fun and helped other soldiers with contract disputes. Those videos, were you aware they were being recorded? No, not at all. I thought they were just trying to help me adjust. That's illegal surveillance in Colorado. 2-party consent state. You can't record someone in their own home without permission. He handed me his business card. I'm a lawyer now. Went to law school on the GI Bill specifically because I saw too many of our brothers getting screwed by the system. Marcus worked pro bono, fueled by pure rage at what Sarah had done to a fellow veteran. Within 48 hours, he'd discovered something that changed everything. Mike, I need you to sit down for this, he said, opening his laptop in the conference room of his law firm. Remember how you gave Sarah power of attorney before deployment? Standard military procedure, right? She's been using it to access everything. Bank accounts, emails, even your iCloud storage. He showed me a deleted folder that was still synced to Sarah's iPad through family sharing. Video after video of Sarah coaching the children, teaching them to fear me, training them to reject me when I came home. Remember, if anyone asks, Daddy scares you, Sarah said in one video, as casually as if she was teaching them to tie their shoes. He's different now. He might hurt us if we're not careful. In the background of many videos was a man I recognized, Kevin Walsh, her personal trainer from CrossFit Iron Denver, the gym where she'd started working out during my deployment. In one video, he was wearing the Rolex watch I'd given him before leaving, asking him to look after my family as a favor. The timestamps on the videos showed the first coaching session was recorded 7 months into my deployment. 7 months. While I was dodging bullets and IEDs in Fallujah, while I was sending her 75% of my combat pay to secure our family's future, Sarah was already programming my children to hate their father. Marcus pulled up bank records that made my stomach turn. Our joint savings account, where I'd been depositing my hazard pay and combat bonuses for 20 months, had been systematically drained. Transfer after transfer to Kevin's personal training business, coded as childcare expenses and household maintenance. Thousands upon thousands of dollars of money I'd earned in a war zone, funding my wife's affair. Look at this, Marcus said, pointing to the screen. She's transferred $127,000 to this Kevin Walsh over the past year. That's almost your entire combat pay. The bank records revealed something even worse. Sarah had opened credit cards in my name while I was deployed, maxing them out on luxury purchases and cash advances. My credit score had been destroyed. She'd even attempted to claim my life insurance benefit, filing paperwork with my command, suggesting I was missing in action during a patrol that never happened. This isn't just infidelity, Mike, Marcus said, his voice tight with controlled anger. This is systematic financial fraud, identity theft, and what she's doing to your kids is parental alienation. It's considered child abuse in Colorado and most other states. The custody battle began immediately, but Sarah had a 6-month head start on building her case. Her lawyer, Patricia Hartwell, was expensive and ruthless, known for representing wealthy wives in contentious divorces. They painted me as an unstable veteran with severe PTSD, using the edited videos as primary evidence. They petitioned for an emergency restraining order, claiming I'd made threats against Sarah and the children. Threats I'd never made, words I'd never spoken. The temporary order was granted without me even being present to defend myself. Standard procedure in domestic cases, the clerk explained. I couldn't go within 300 feet of my own home, couldn't contact my children except through court-supervised visits at an approved facility downtown. The facility felt like a prison. Metal detectors, security cameras, guards watching every interaction. The first supervised visit broke whatever was left of my heart. Olivia and Nathan were brought in by a court supervisor, looking nervous and confused. They wouldn't sit near me, wouldn't make eye contact, wouldn't accept the small gifts I'd brought them. When I tried to show them photos from deployment, pictures I'd taken of Iraqi children who reminded me of them, landscapes I'd wanted to share, Nathan started crying and asked when Kevin was coming to pick them up. "Why don't you love us anymore, Daddy?" Olivia asked, parroting words that were clearly not her own. The phrasing was too sophisticated, too emotionally manipulative for an 8-year-old. "I do love you, sweetheart. I love you more than anything in the world." "Then why did you leave us?" she continued. "Kevin says you chose the army over us." The supervisor, Mrs. Patterson, noted their obvious discomfort with the father figure and their preference for alternative caregiver Kevin Walsh in her report. Every word of that report would be used against me in court. Meanwhile, Marcus's investigation uncovered the full scope of Sarah's deception. She'd been telling everyone in our lives, my parents, my siblings, our mutual friends, even my army buddies, that I was in psychiatric treatment, not deployed overseas. She'd intercepted care packages my mother sent, blocked video calls from family members, and even sent fake emails from a spoofed account claiming I'd requested no contact while receiving intensive therapy. My own family thought I'd suffered a mental breakdown and abandoned them for treatment at a military psychiatric facility. Kevin Walsh had moved into my house completely by month 8 of my deployment. He'd taken over my garage gym, was sleeping in my bed, using my tools, driving my truck, and playing father to my children. Neighbors confirmed they'd seen him there regularly, mowing my lawn and taking my kids to school in my vehicle. The financial audit Marcus ordered revealed fraud totaling over $230,000. My combat pay, signing bonuses, the kids' college funds I'd been contributing to since their births, my retirement savings, even the life insurance payout Sarah had attempted to claim, all gone. Spent on her new life with Kevin while I was serving overseas in active combat. But Sarah's first strategic mistake came during her deposition when Marcus asked about specific dates and incidents. She confidently described violent episodes that supposedly happened when I was home on leave, providing detailed accounts of my threatening behavior and unstable outbursts. Cross-referenced with my unit's deployment records, I was verified in combat operations at those exact times, thousands of miles away. It was literally impossible for me to be in 2 places at once. Her lies were beginning to unravel under scrutiny. The psychological evaluation ordered by the court worked heavily in my favor. Dr. Jennifer Adams, a specialist in PTSD assessment and veteran mental health, found my symptoms to be completely normal and manageable for a combat veteran with my service record. Mr. Thompson exhibits typical stress responses consistent with his combat experience, she wrote in her report. There are no indicators of aggression toward family members, no signs of violent tendencies, and no evidence of danger to children. His PTSD symptoms are mild to moderate and well controlled with therapy. Then came the breakthrough that changed everything in our case. Nathan's teacher, Mrs. Rebecca Campbell, contacted Marcus through a mutual friend who was also a veteran. She'd been documenting concerning changes in Nathan's behavior and academic performance since the beginning of the school year. More importantly, she'd overheard conversations between Sarah and Kevin during school pickup that made her deeply uncomfortable. "I've taught children of deployed parents for 15 years, she told Marcus during a clandestine meeting at a coffee shop across town. "I know the difference between normal separation anxiety and deliberate psychological coaching. Nathan uses phrases and concepts that no 4-year-old would naturally understand or express. Mrs. Campbell provided written documentation of Nathan saying things like, "Daddy is dangerous and might hurt us. Kevin is my real daddy now, and I'm not supposed to love my old daddy anymore." Sophisticated emotional concepts that had clearly been planted and reinforced through repetitive coaching. She'd also documented Nathan's artwork from class, which showed a consistent pattern. Family drawings with 2 father figures, one always colored in black with angry expressions, one in bright colors with smiles. When asked about the drawings, Nathan would repeat, "Black daddy is bad. Nice daddy takes care of us now." Kevin made his own crucial error when he thought he was safe among allies. During what he believed was a private conversation at CrossFit Iron Denver, he bragged to another trainer about replacing a war hero and getting paid to steal a soldier's life while he's getting shot at in the sandbox. The trainer, Jake Morrison, was himself a Marine veteran who found Kevin's boasting disgusting. He recorded their next conversation and sent it to Marcus along with a detailed statement about Kevin's behavior and comments. "This guy's been running his mouth for months about how easy it was to take over some soldier's family," Jake told Marcus. "He talks about the kids like they're trophies he won, and the money like it's payment for services rendered. It's sick." The tide began to turn dramatically when Sarah's own sister, Jennifer Walsh, who had kept her maiden name after marriage, reached out to Marcus after months of internal struggle. She'd witnessed Kevin's behavior at family gatherings and holiday events, and what she'd seen terrified her. "Sarah knows about Kevin's drinking problem," Jennifer told Marcus during an emotional meeting at his office. "She knows he gets rough with the kids when he's been drinking, and she knows about his history with other military wives. She just doesn't care because she needs him to maintain the lifestyle she wants." Jennifer provided text message screenshots dating back over a year, showing Sarah planning the relationship with Kevin, discussing how to handle Michael when he gets back, and even researching how to claim military benefits as a widow. The premeditation was staggering. CPS had to open a formal investigation when teachers at both Olivia's and Nathan's schools reported bruising and behavioral changes consistent with physical abuse. The children had bruises on their arms and backs that were consistent with grip marks from adult hands. Sarah immediately blamed the stress I was causing through the custody battle, claiming it made Kevin accidentally grip too hard when the children misbehaved or had emotional outbursts about their scary daddy. My fault, even when I was prohibited by court order from having any contact with them. The school counselor, Dr. Patricia Murray, filed a separate report about the children's psychological state that painted a disturbing picture. Olivia's drawings consistently showed family scenes with violence, stick figures being hurt by black figures while colorful figures tried to protect them. Nathan had started having anxiety attacks during class whenever loud noises occurred, something that had never happened before my deployment. Both children exhibit signs of trauma consistent with parental alienation syndrome, Dr. Murray wrote. They've been conditioned to fear their biological father while forming inappropriate attachment to an unrelated male figure. This is a form of psychological abuse. Marcus subpoenaed Sarah's phone records and social media accounts, and the evidence was absolutely damning. Text messages with Kevin dating back to month 3 of my deployment. Photos of family outings with Kevin photoshopped in place of me, posted to Facebook while I was in active combat zones. Christmas morning 2021, Nathan's 4th birthday party. Easter egg hunts, all with Kevin playing father while I was serving our country. Sarah had been systematically building a false narrative for over a year, creating evidence of a happy family life that never included me. The federal criminal investigation into the fraud attracted attention from the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. Military members have special protections under the Service Member Civil Relief Act, and Sarah's actions constituted multiple federal crimes, including wire fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to commit fraud. Special Agent Diana Torres interviewed me about the identity theft and financial fraud while I was deployed, explaining that cases like mine were becoming increasingly common. "We're seeing this pattern more and more," she said. "Military spouses who view deployment as an opportunity rather than a hardship. The extended absence makes soldiers particularly vulnerable to this type of systematic abuse." Kevin's background check revealed a dishonorable discharge from the Army 3 years prior for conduct unbecoming an officer. He'd been involved in multiple affairs with officers' wives while stationed at Fort Carson. His pattern was clear: target military families during deployments, move in as a helpful friend, then systematically replace the deployed husband. His war stories that he'd been telling my children were complete fabrications. He'd never seen combat, never served honorably, never earned the respect he was claiming. Sarah had chosen him specifically because of his predatory history, not despite it. Marcus uncovered evidence that this wasn't even Kevin's first time running this exact scheme. 2 other military families at Fort Carson had been destroyed by his actions, though those fathers had been too financially and emotionally destroyed to pursue legal action. The custody hearing lasted 5 days and felt like the trial of my life. Marcus methodically presented evidence of systematic parental alienation, financial fraud, and criminal conspiracy. The coaching videos played on a large screen for Judge Patricia Hendricks, showing Sarah teaching my children to fear their own father while I was serving overseas in combat. Remember, kids, Sarah's voice echoed through the courtroom. If anyone asks, Daddy scares you, and you don't feel safe with him, Kevin takes care of us now. Sarah's testimony fell apart completely under Marcus's cross-examination. She couldn't explain the timeline of her relationship with Kevin without admitting to adultery during my deployment. She couldn't account for the missing $230,000 without admitting to fraud. She couldn't justify the coaching videos without admitting to child abuse. Her claims of fearing me were contradicted by her own social media posts celebrating Kevin's presence in our home. Posts where she bragged about her upgrade from a broken soldier to a real man who's actually present. Kevin fled during the lunch recess on day 3. A warrant was issued immediately for his arrest on fraud charges. He'd taken my deployment medals, my dress blue uniform, and the last $15,000 from a credit card he'd opened in my name. When pressure mounted, he abandoned Sarah without a second thought. Judge Hendricks' decision was swift and comprehensive. Full custody awarded to me, with supervised visitation for Sarah pending completion of court-ordered psychological evaluation and therapy. Restitution ordered for all stolen funds, though recovery seemed unlikely given that most of the money had been spent. Criminal charges were recommended for fraud, identity theft, conspiracy, and child abuse. The judge specifically noted that Sarah's actions constituted one of the most egregious cases of parental alienation and financial abuse she'd seen in 20 years on the bench. Sarah broke down completely in the courtroom, sobbing about losing her babies and screaming that I was stealing her children. The same children she'd systematically programmed to hate and fear me. Judge Hendricks remained unmoved by the performance. Mrs. Thompson, the judge said coldly, you have spent over a year deliberately destroying your children's relationship with their father while he served our country. Your actions constitute child abuse, and you are fortunate that criminal prosecution is the state's decision, not mine. Taking custody of my children was like inheriting 2 severely traumatized strangers. They were confused, scared, and completely unprepared for the truth about their situation. The 2-bedroom apartment I'd rented near their school felt foreign and threatening to them. That first night was a nightmare. Both kids asked repeatedly when Kevin was coming back, when they could see mommy, why they had to stay with the scary daddy. Olivia had a panic attack when I tried to help her with her pajamas, and Nathan wet the bed 3 times, reverting to behaviors he'd outgrown years before my deployment. I spent hours on the phone with child psychologists and trauma specialists, learning how to help them process their confusion without overwhelming their damaged psyches. Dr. Amanda Foster, a specialist in parental alienation cases, explained the long road ahead. These children have been systematically brainwashed, she said bluntly. Every normal parental instinct you have, to comfort them, to hold them, to reassure them, may trigger the fear responses their mother programmed into them. This will take years to undo. The healing process was slow, heartbreaking, and required more patience than I knew I possessed. Olivia had been so thoroughly coached that she flinched whenever I moved too quickly or raised my voice even slightly. Nathan wet the bed for 6 months, cried for Kevin every night, and refused to let me read him bedtime stories, because Kevin's stories are better. Every normal father activity, helping with homework, cooking dinner, teaching them to ride bikes, was met with programmed resistance and fear. They'd been taught that loving me was dangerous, that Kevin was their real father, that I was an unstable stranger who might hurt them at any moment. Individual therapy helped gradually, but progress was measured in microscopic victories. Nathan laughing at one of my silly jokes after 2 months. Olivia asking for help with her math homework without trembling after 4 months. The first time Nathan called me Daddy instead of Michael after 6 months, I had to excuse myself to cry in the bathroom. Sarah served 24 months in federal prison for the fraud charges. Her parents, Carol and Bob, received 18 months probation for their role in the conspiracy. Kevin was eventually arrested in El Paso, Texas, running the exact same scheme on another Army family. He received 7 years in federal prison and was ordered to pay restitution to all his victims. The kids visited Sarah during her limited supervised visitations after her release, but they were different by then. Therapy had helped them understand boundaries, understand that love shouldn't come with manipulation and lies. They still loved their mother, but they no longer feared their father. I never remarried. The betrayal had damaged my ability to trust at such a fundamental level that romantic relationships felt impossible. I focused entirely on Olivia and Nathan, on being the father I'd always wanted to be, the one Sarah had tried so hard to erase from their lives. The financial recovery took years. I had to file for bankruptcy to handle the credit card debt Sarah had incurred in my name. The house was foreclosed on during the custody battle. We started over in a small apartment, rebuilding our lives from nothing. But slowly, we became a family again. Real family, not the manufactured version Sarah had created with Kevin. Olivia graduated high school as salutatorian despite everything she'd been through. In her graduation speech, she talked about overcoming adversity and the importance of truth. She never mentioned the custody battle directly, but I knew she understood how far we'd come together. Sometimes, she said from the podium, the people who are supposed to protect us are the ones who hurt us most. But that doesn't mean we stop believing in love, in family, in the possibility of healing. Nathan joined the Marines after college, following in my footsteps, but carving his own path. We talked about service differently now, about protecting family from all enemies, foreign and domestic. He understood the reference without explanation. Years later, at Olivia's wedding, Sarah attended as her guest. We nodded politely but shared no conversation. The past was buried under layers of healing and forgiveness that I'd never thought possible. She'd completed her therapy, held a steady job, and followed all court orders without deviation. The veteran support group I started meets twice monthly at the VFW. I help new fathers facing similar custody battles, sharing legal resources and emotional support. The system still has built-in bias against fathers, especially military fathers with PTSD. But more of us are fighting back now, armed with better evidence and stronger networks. My story spreads through military communities, not as fame, but as hope. Proof that fathers can win these battles when they document everything, when they find good lawyers, when they refuse to give up on their children. Kevin's other victims reached out over the years as word spread. 7 military families in total had been destroyed by his predatory behavior. Together, we helped strengthen state laws regarding parental alienation and pushed for better military family protections during deployment. The financial losses were never fully recovered. The college funds, the retirement savings, the combat pay, mostly gone forever. But what remained was stronger. A father's love, tested by the ultimate betrayal and proven unbreakable. Recovery isn't a destination. It's a daily choice. Choosing patience when Olivia still had occasional flashbacks to the custody battle. Choosing calm when Nathan questioned why his mother had lied to him for over a year. Choosing forgiveness for myself, for trusting too completely, for not seeing the signs earlier. My life is smaller than I'd planned, but infinitely fuller than I dared hope during those dark months of sleeping in my truck. No military retirement, no accumulated wealth, but every moment with my children was earned through blood, sweat, and legal fees. Every hug was treasured because I knew exactly how close I'd come to losing them forever. The support network remained strong. Veterans who stood with me in court, who donated to legal funds, who shared their own stories of family court battles. Brotherhood that extends far beyond military service into the civilian battlefield of family court. Sometimes young fathers contact me through the support group, asking if the fight was worth it. The financial ruin, the emotional trauma, the years of legal battles. I show them recent photos, Olivia's college graduation, Nathan's Marine commissioning ceremony, my 2 grandchildren playing in the backyard of the small house we eventually bought. They understand immediately. No explanation needed. Sarah lives quietly now, works at a retail job, follows court orders precisely, and sees the kids regularly for supervised visits that gradually became unsupervised as she proved her stability. She claims to have changed, to understand the damage she caused. Maybe it's true. Maybe it doesn't matter anymore. The children are safe, thriving, and whole. At Nathan's wedding last year, both parents attended separate sections of the church. We were both proud of our son, the young man who'd survived our war and chosen love over bitterness, strength over revenge, service over selfishness. My grandchildren know nothing of the custody battle, of the coaching videos, of the years when their father and aunt were programmed to fear their grandfather. To them, I'm just Grandpa Mike, the one who makes Sunday pancakes, tells funny army stories, and teaches them to throw curveballs. Normal grandfather activities that feel like miracles after everything we've survived. The coaching videos that nearly destroyed us are now evidence in law enforcement training programs across Colorado. Prosecutors and judges learn to recognize the signs of parental alienation, how to spot coaching behaviors, how to protect children from psychological abuse. Some nights I still dream of Iraq, the heat, the sand, the constant threat of death. Other nights I dream of empty bank accounts and edited videos and supervised visits in sterile rooms. Different battlefields, same survival instincts, same determination to protect what matters most. 10 years later, peace exists. Not forgiveness for Sarah, not forgetting what happened, but peace. My children grown and thriving, the legal battles won, the psychological wounds scarred over but healed, a simple life, hard-earned and deeply treasured. Everything I fought for overseas and in family court is preserved in the laughter around my dinner table. In bedtime hugs that Sarah once tried to steal forever, in the normal chaos of a father's love that survived the ultimate betrayal. This is the end of my story, but not the end of the fight. If it helps one father fight for his children, one family survive systematic alienation, then sharing these painful memories was worth every word. The war in Iraq ended for me in 2019. The war for my children ended in 2022. Both battles left permanent scars. Both made me stronger. Both were worth every sacrifice. And both proved that love, real love, is stronger than lies.